plan is to rebuild schools we can't fill. I don't feel that was ever promised by any past board or this board or anything. I just want to be straightforward tonight as we take this next step, that these conversations have to happen, and any thought of there's steps all laid out exactly and we know what they are, that's just not being honest if we try and portray that tonight. So just gotta say it, and appreciate the conversations ahead of us and all the hard work going on in our district. So thank you.
I do as well. And since there is no time set aside for public comment tonight, we do have some members of the Kiva community. I wanted to make a few comments myself. Every day, 578 students get up and go to school at Kiva. They learn in a building that was built in 1957. Kiva has had no meaningful renovations in 62 years. I am told it has asbestos in the walls, dated bathrooms, and AC issues. In fact, I understand Kiva is the least energy efficient school in our district. Despite these challenges, 578 families choose Kiva for its strong academics, experienced and loving teachers, and its incredible community. Many from that community are here this evening. Thank you. Since my children first attended Kiva 10 years ago, SUSD has had many agonizing discussions about the future of the school, creating significant concern in the community. Kiva began as a K-8, then it was turned into a K-6. 10 years ago, the K-8 discussion came forth again, only to be dropped. Then Kiva became a K-5. Then once again, the K-8 discussion, this time around, the district did presentations in the school library discussing what it would look like. It was then dropped. Kiva was then told you must find an identity if you want to be rebuilt, which was confusing at the time because Kiva was the #1 K-5 academically in SUSD and #4 in Maricopa County, but still an identity was needed. I think the identity was clear. Dr. Birdwell then came to the Kiva library and said, Kiva, you are not closing. You are next to be rebuilt. I know this because I attended the meeting. We all know what happened after this. Kiva lost 3 principals and the entire front office staff, as well as many valuable teachers. Enter the current wonderful principal, Alice Spingola. She calmed and she united the community. Thank you, Principal Spingola. Belinda Gulick made a strong point to us from the podium this spring. She said, Kiva is my home school, and my family would have happily attended Kiva, but we were uncertain about the school given the district's hesitancy to commit to a rebuild. A year ago, you had a presentation from Applied Economics. Kiva's enrollment was at 504. They actually projected Kiva to be at 461 this year. As of August, enrollment was at 578, including 46 preschool students and 110 kindergarten students. Kiva has grown. I am voting yes to rebuilding or remodeling Kiva. These families deserve a new school. I would ask my fellow board members to do the same. We need to put our students first and to stop holding Kiva hostage based on our ever-changing school rebuild criteria. Thank you. Any other questions? Board Member Greenberg?
Thank you for setting out that timeline because I think it's very illustrative, and I entirely support what you say. I think it's very odd to hear these statements about these discussions that have had to occur at some point when, you know, I'm relatively new to the board, as is the board president, but you know, we've had the majority of the board has been on the board for 2.5+ years. And how it's possible that those discussions did not occur when you went out for the bond and are now holding schools hostage.
Excuse me?
To this. No, what I'm saying is that you're saying that what you're specifically alleging is that these conversations did not occur, or if they did occur, they were dropped. But that isn't something that's in the power of the community or the families or the children who attend these schools. These are our students. Just as I said earlier, we are supposed to do what is in their best interest, what is in the best interest of the district as a whole. And working in and attending school every day in a building that is that old and not fit for purpose in the modern day, that has had bad press because of the state of the buildings. And if you read through our headhunters report of community comments, every single community group, teachers, students, classified, admin, every single one of those groups in those 75 pages that were interviewed, every single one of them brought up facility issues as one of the issues that they believed faced our district. Every single one of those groups. So to say that, well, you know, we were in charge and I was board president for 2 years and, you know, we somehow were unable to schedule these discussions and actually conclude them, and then hold our community hostage by saying, you know, oh, we need to sit around and, you know, talk more about this, is wrong. Mr. Rayler is specifically saying that we have inflation issues, we have growing costs for expenses, we have extensive needs. The board president has pointed out key things that are, you know, environmental issues, poor energy efficiency, probably poor water efficiency. I mean, I'm just shocked. I mean, I really don't understand what the issue is here. This has 578 students.
Board Member Powers.
First of all, we were building other schools, and many of them, most of them, if not, I would say all of them, because we did do a matrix, were in equally bad shape. And you could make an argument for that. So nobody is saying that Kiva doesn't deserve to be rebuilt or isn't in horrible shape. I saw the tree growing through the window in the principal's office when Nick Noonan was the principal there. But you have to make decisions about
So do you
what
want to
you're
close this
rebuilding.
school? Yes or no?
That's not what we're voting
Do you
on.
want to close the school, yes or no?
I have no
So
desire
then
to
what-
close the
so then
school,
we should
why-
rebuild it.
That's not what we were asking about. We're voting on are we rebuilding the school.
How long do we,
We're
are we going to
not
talk
voting
about?
on are we closing the school, we're
Yeah,
voting
so
on
if
are
you
we
don't,
rebuilding the
so
school.
if you don't want to rebuild it, what do you want?
Did I
what do you want
say,
these people-
excuse me, let me be perfectly clear, do not interrupt me. You don't like it when other people interrupt you. No one has said anything about closing Kiva.
That's incorrect. That is incorrect. At the last board meeting, that is specifically what the board.
Have we
what
voted on
Board member
closing
Perleberg
Kiva?
brought up.
No.
Am I missing
Excuse me,
something?
have I ever uttered the words that I want to
We
close
do
Kiva?
have an
Dr. Picard,
overcapacity
can you
in our
verify
district.
that,
Can
please?
you admit we have an overcapacity in our district based on what we've seen?
Do we have excess capacity in
Yes.
certain
Do we have
areas?
excess?
Yes.
Do we have excess capacity?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
So what does that have to do with Kiva, which has
I'm not-
578
I'm
students?
Stick to the
Let's stick to the
agenda.
topic,
The
okay?
topic was Kiva. Nobody was discussing closing Kiva.
That is inaccurate according to the record at the last time we discussed this. And I have the transcript if you would like me to read it out.
Dr. Picard, have I ever spoken to you or this governing board about closing Kiva?
No, you have not.
Thank you. Thank you. I have never, ever felt Kiva should be closed as a board member. I don't even know if I'm even supposed to say something, but it's a public meeting, so I guess I get to. I've had a lot of things said about what I think or what I want said that is inaccurate. Closing Kiva was never that. The reality of the Swirl complex possibly having to see a consolidation and a change in placement of programs is the conversation that we have had to have for a very long time. And instead, over the years, we have tried to focus with the bond on what we knew the no-brainer builds and rebuilds were. And that is all that I have ever asked for, wanted, needed, this district is needed. And I would just appreciate words not being put in my mouth.
No discussion about closing Kiva. There's been rumors out there that a former board member was interested in selling it to another entity.
Okay.
She's not on the board now.
Let's just stick to the agenda. Board Member Beckham?
As far as I will stick to the agenda. It was my understanding that the ask is that we would be looking and we would be getting the information before we voted on Kiva or Pueblo or the next rebuild, that we would be looking at the Granite Reef Corridor and the Saguaro Complex, looking at capacity and enrollment. So I was expecting that conversation from our district to happen tonight, since it was put on the agenda by our district. It's not going to happen again, and I believe that is what Board Member Perlberg has been trying to have a conversation. And I respect what you are trying to say, but I think what you may not understand is that a lot of times what the board asks for, as you could say, you have been asking for an internal audit, and somehow miraculously it doesn't come up. that is the exact same situation that has been being asked, and it is not presented to us when we have asked for it to be presented. I think that that is the essence of what was asked by past boards and Barbara Peralter.
Thank you.
Okay, well, are we ready to move on this? Are there any further discussions or questions? All right. All right, I move to approve our next bond planning project, Kiva Elementary School. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
And can I say one thing?
You can.
I am going to vote for Kiva because I support rebuilding the school. But what I don't support is that I believe that we have asked that we discuss the Saguaro complex and the Granite Reef complex, and it has not continually been brought up. And I was going to bring that up whether or not this other discussion was brought up. So I am very disappointed in that. I thought about abstaining, but I will say that I do believe that Kiva should be rebuilt.
Okay, so I have 5-4, correct? Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations, Kiva, you have your rebuild.